Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 141st episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hawk Blogger, and it is a happy Monday morning as your Seattle Seahawks have started their Mike Macdonald era 1-0 with a win on Saturday night. Thousands tuned in for the watch party this past weekend as we watched for 3 hours as your Seattle Seahawks pretty much dismantled Jim Harbaugh's Chargers in his first game as head coach. And man, what a great way to start the Mike Macdonald era. Today, we're starting a little bit early on Hawk Blogger Mornings because so is Mike Macdonald and the team. He has the team practicing Monday mornings at 10 a.m. I think really at like 9:45 or something like that. So I've got to get down there early, which means we get to start this show early. I was up at 5 a.m. today. Technically, I was up at like 1, but then I woke up again at 5. Got my workout in. Proud to say, I got a little, boast here. Set my at least 2024 record, 207 ups this morning. So I'm feeling good about that. And yes, you've noticed we've got the light in the background. You guys can vote. We've got options on color there. So I've been going with blue, but at any time, we can switch that over to a different color. For example, we can go blue. We can go green. I'm going with green today. What do you guys think about that? I'm kind of feeling the green, but let me know if you prefer blue, and I'm happy to switch it up for you. So a lot to kind of catch up on today. First, let's go over some of the Seahawks news. Big news that came out yesterday: the Seahawks preemptively made a move by changing the location of their backup center, Nick Harris. Nick Harris signed with the he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns, was their backup center for years. The Seahawks signed him up this past offseason as a free agent. And when they did, the expectation was that he was going to be the Seahawks backup center. He was reunited with Scott Huff, who he played for at University of Washington. They thought that maybe there'd be a little bit of a competition with Oluwatimi. But really, it seemed like Oluwatimi was going to win that job, and then it became closer competition. After all of that, the Seahawks end up signing Connor Williams, which was announced officially yesterday. And at the same time, they shipped Nick Harris back to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns backup center, Luke Whippler, broke a bone, or he got injured somehow. He's going to be out for a while. And so they reacquired their backup center, Nick Harris. The cost for them was a little bit of salary as well as a 2026 6th-round pick. So the Seahawks swapped their 2026 7th-round pick for a 2026 6th-round pick. Plus, they shipped over Nick Harris. They are going to have a little bit of dead cap hit, like $1 million for the signing bonus, dead cap that will hit. But they also move out the salary, so that goes to the Browns. So they clear out a little bit of cap space. And so that move was interesting, not because, what's going to happen for the backup center? Like, that was interesting. And I wasn't totally positive. I was pretty sure it was going to be Olu that won that job, but I wasn't positive. And so this, first of all, clears that up. Olu is going to be your backup center. That seems pretty clear. But the other piece is they didn't necessarily clearly need to do this now. I think they found a deal because of the injury and a team that was motivated to make the move. But they also are indicating that Connor Williams may be ready to play now, or at least they have pretty good reason to think he'll be ready to play this season right away and not start the year on IR or something like that. So I think that's the bigger part of this news. And when I'm down there today, given that they announced the move yesterday, my expectation is we may have a press conference with Connor Williams today. If so, that would be great. Certainly hope to get my eyes on Connor Williams today. He may practice for the first time today. All these things are possible. So a big day for the Seahawks and we will get all that information to you. If you haven't already liked and subscribed and clicked the bell to get notified, I would recommend you do it, because it is very unpredictable when I'm going to go live post practice, and that is the best way to know when I'm going live. We added hundreds of new subscribers and members over the weekend, and we just added another new member, Falcon 47. Welcome to the crew. So awesome to have you. It makes me so happy every single time that we have a new member of the channel and the new crew. So really, really happy to have you. Thank you for coming. So yeah, I think that's kind of the big news of the day coming in. The bulk of the show, I'm going to go over the different players that kind of helped themselves this weekend and some that might not have. Before I do that, I wanted to kind of go through and have a little fun with PFF. I think we'll do this throughout the season, where I will give you some insights from what PFF provides, and some of it will be useful, some of it will just be for fun. This is mostly for fun because this is preseason and who knows about these things. But I shared one bit of information this weekend, which was Sam Howell got rid of the ball an average of 2.65 seconds after the snap this game. And that would have been good for about 9th, I think, in the NFL last year, if that was for a full season. But not only that, but this is coming from a guy who was sacked more than anyone else last year. And part of the reason was because he holds onto the ball. He held onto the ball an average of 2.85 seconds last year, which was 50th in the NFL among quarterbacks. So I think we saw it. I talked about it during the show, the watch party on Saturday, that Sam Howell was getting rid of that ball quickly throughout that game. I think he has started to pick up the keys from Ryan Grubb's offense, understand when to get rid of the ball quickly, when it's okay to take a little bit longer. And I think that started showing up. A lot of people were, kind of poo-pooing that performance by Sam Howell. I thought it was a pretty clear step forward for Sam Howell. I think the fact that he did not turn the ball over, he did not really put the ball in harm's way. They should have had 3 touchdown drives, and I thought a lot of it was pretty repeatable. I thought that was all good from Sam Howell, because we know that he's got a good arm and that he can throw the deep ball and can fit into tight windows. But what we don't know is that he can protect the football and make smart decisions and get rid of the ball quickly. So I think that was a really important start for Sam Howell, and I think that was a good thing to be aware of, and something I picked up looking at some of the PFF numbers. Now let's do some silliness. Let's look at grades. I tweeted out some grades over the weekend. I'll go over some of the Seahawks grades in general, but if you look at, let's just do this. 4 receivers across the NFL. Let's talk about who are the top graded receivers across the NFL. It is number 1, Dontavian Wicks. Number 2, Tank Dell. Number 3, Diami Brown from Washington. Number 4 and 5 are going to be a challenge. I think, 4 is Jaquay Jackson from New England. Number 5 is Olamide Zaccheaus, I think, from Washington. He only had 1 snap, so I don't know that really counts. But number six graded receiver in the NFL through the weekend, Easop Winston Jr. with a 90.1 grade. So Easop Winston, good for you, dude. Nice, strong start. The next highest graded Seahawks receiver for week 1. Let me actually reduce targets qualifications. They actually have to have been in there for a little bit. I don't know if I see another Seahawks receiver. The next highest is Laviska Shenault at 69.8. So that is receivers. But the thing that I wanted to share that I think is a little bit more interesting and indicative of what could happen during the season. Laviska Shenault, if you look at yards after catch per reception, he averaged 17 yards after catch in this game. Now, granted, he had 2 catches. They were screen passes, but that's his game. and he averaged 17 yards after the catch in this game. So I think that is, and keep in mind, I told you this just a couple years ago, he led the NFL among receivers in yards after catch at around 12 yards after catch. So, I think that's very good news, and something to keep an eye on as we continue through the season. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is tight ends in the NFL and grades there. So, who in the NFL among all tight ends was the top graded tight end this week? Who do you think was the top graded tight end? Ben Sinnott or Sino? You don't really know the pronunciation. I thought he had a pretty big game in Washington. He's one to think about. Maybe it was Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers had a decent start to his game, his career. Cole Kmet, maybe him. Michael Mayer from yesterday, or from last year's draft, who was highly thought of. We've got a few very smart YouTube members. Corey Coleman was first up, so he gets the credit here. Brady Russell is the correct answer. An 88.3 grade, a 71.6 pass block grade. So not only was he the top graded offensive player overall for tight ends, but he was one of the top graded blockers. And if we go to, let's go to run blocking. I told you this is my version of having fun. I don't know if you guys are having fun, but I'm having fun. Let's go to run blocking. Let's look at the tight ends. Now, this is a little bit painful for me because the number one player is a guy that Jeff and I really, really liked last year. He ended up going to Pittsburgh. Darnell Washington, just an absolute beast of a tight end, had an 85.2 run blocking grade this weekend. He's just going to be, I wish we had him. I got to admit. Interesting name up here high. Devin Culp of the Huskies for Tampa Bay had a 78.9 run blocking grade. The top Seahawk was Brady Russell with a 70.7. He finished 18th. Right behind him, Pharaoh Brown, 70.6 run block grade. So he is right there. And then right behind them, 21st, is Tyler Mayberry with a 69. So that's three of your tight ends finishing among the top 20 tight ends in run blocking. So I think that's very cool and worth knowing. Tip Ryman, a guy I was a very big fan of, he's right behind them with a 68.5. So that was cool. Let's look at wide receiver. Do we have receiver run blocking? I think we can. Receiver run blocking. Best guys. Any Seahawks? Well, there's Jake Bobo. He's only 17th, but he's still in the top 20. He has a 64.3 run blocking grade, which is good to see. Any other Seahawks near the top? Derek Young, 61.5. Now, these are the things that I kind of pay attention to because the fact that Derek Young shows up here is meaningful. He's a guy that I still have ahead of D. Eskridge. I think he's a more varied receiver. I think he's good with the ball in his hands. I think he's better down the field. I think he is a better all-around special teams player. And here is, some example of his ability to be a above average or at least good run blocker. I think that matters when you're, at these fine-grained decisions of who's going to be on your roster. So that is worth noting. Let's see. Who was the best tackle? Who were the best tackles at run blocking in the NFL this weekend? No one from the Seahawks in the top for a while. Jalen Sundell was the top run blocking player for the Seahawks. Oh, no, sorry. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. It is Satawa Lamea was the top run blocking player for the Seahawks on the offensive line, had a 65.3 grade. This is the top tackles. Excuse me. Let's let's broaden this. Let's do tackles and guards. So that would be I think it might still be the same guy. Yeah, Satao Lamea was the top ranked run blocking offensive lineman for the Seahawks, at least guard and tackle. I'm not going to count center. 65.3 run blocking grade. Anthony Bradford was next at 63.2. That ranked 96. So Christian Haynes for the Seahawks was 98th with 62.8. They didn't love his run blocking as much as we did, but that is something just to keep an eye on. I think that matters. Let's look at pass blocking. Let's look at pass blocking relative to the rest of the NFL, tackles and guards. Who was best there? For Seattle, Raekwon O'Neal, 85.7 grade, finished 12th among players. Zach Zinter, interestingly, for the Browns, at 86 grade. This is a guy that we all liked. He ends up going to Cleveland and has a very good first game for them as a pass protector. Laken Tomlinson for the Seahawks, 84.7. I think this was an underreported positive grade out of this game. Laken Tomlinson, 84.7 grade. That ranks 17th among guards and tackles among the pass blockers. If I just limit it to guards, that means that Laken Tomlinson was 12th. So that is a pretty interesting result there. And I think that's it for those positions. Let's switch over to rushing grades because there's a pretty good battle here for the Seahawks. Kenny McIntosh got a pretty good grade. He was 13th graded among all running backs in the NFL. He had a 70.7 grade. From a run perspective, he had a 73.1 grade. Now, they did not love George Holani as much as I think I did. They gave him a 69.9 overall, like run grade, and a 71.7 overall grade, which ranked 21st. So he was behind Kenny McIntosh. For my money, I'm going to tell you, I thought George Holani helped himself more than Kenny McIntosh. I think Kenny McIntosh left yards on the field. I don't think he had many yards after contact. I can do that. Let's actually look at yards after contact. Yes, this qualifies as fun for me. All right. So yards after contact. It says here Kenny McIntosh averaged 4 yards after contact per carry. Now, that's different than what I saw, but it's what they saw. And that's why I like to check myself looking at these things. So as I scroll through, I'm looking. Where is Holani? Where is George Holani? Holani, they say, only averaged 1.67 yards after contact. Kobe Lewis, they say, only was 2 yards after contact. Now, some of this may be the types of runs that they were doing. So a lot of Holani and Lewis's runs were right up the middle. A lot of McIntosh's runs were to the outside. I think that I'm admittedly trying to force the narrative that fits what my eyes told me. But, I mean, Kobe Lewis, they didn't have a single run outside the tackles. Every run was just jamming it up the middle of the line. So I think yards after contact in those situations is a little bit harder when it's not blocked up that well. But I'm sticking with it. For me, I didn't love Kenny McIntosh's game. So I'm going to be a voice that is different than I think some of the other voices out there. I didn't love Kenny McIntosh's game. I thought it was a fine game, but I liked what I saw from the other two runners more. We'll find out what the coaches think. Let's keep looking. Let's look at some other positions. Let's look at overall offensive line pass blocking efficiency. How did the Seahawks do? They ranked 9th in the NFL in pass blocking efficiency through the first week of the preseason with an 89.3 efficiency, meaning that they held up without allowing a pressure on 89% of the pass snaps, pass dropbacks. That's pretty good. As a curiosity, let's look back at 2023. The Seahawks for the preseason in 2023 ranked 18th in pass block efficiency at 85.3. So this first game, now it's just the first game, they had a market improvement. They're twice as high in the overall rankings and about 5% better in overall pass blocking efficiency. All right, let's look on the defensive side. All right, let's look on the defensive side, and let's look at interior defensive line players. By the way, I think I missed a new member. I was so excited about what's going on. Let me welcome in the new member that I think I missed. Where did that go? I could have sworn there was a new member. There he is, Jared. Jared, welcome to the crew, man. So good to have you. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you, man. And then I think we just got another new member, Rick R. Fantastic to have you on here. If you want to join as a new member, the link is in the description of the video. Great to have you. I can also really quickly, for people interested, drop the link to join as a member right into chat right here. Make it as easy as possible for you all, which I know everybody could use a little helping hand. So great to have you, Rick and Jared. Thank you guys for joining. Let's look. Defensive interior. So for the Seahawks, they did not love the Seahawks interior line play. Jaron Reed was the highest graded player, 72.6. That ranked 35th among all defensive interior players. Next highest was Keon Bars, who only played 3 snaps. So I don't think that really is very good indicator. Leonard Williams was at 70.2. He only had 6 snaps. Let's see. Good old Poona Ford for the Chargers, 69.5. Let's see. Byron Murphy, 67.6. Now, this is really weighed down by his 26.7 tackling grade. I think that they had him missing a couple of tackles. Let's see here. They had him missing 1 tackle. So as far as pressures created, they only had him having 2 pressures. I had him for at least 3. And I think that we could debate. Pressures are very subjective. But like, for example, I thought the play where there was an interception, I'm pretty sure that Byron Murphy forced an early throw and did not allow the quarterback to step into that throw. I would have given him a pressure for sure on that play. So there was a few others that I thought they kind of were a little stingy with Byron Murphy, but I don't care about the grade. Like, I'm not going to be a slave to the grade. I know what I saw. I think we all know what we saw. That was a great first game for Byron Murphy. So that's interior. Let's look at edge players. All right. Let's look at edge players. Look at all these new members. My goodness. So fantastic. All right. We've got Maxter 5189. Maxter, man, welcome to the crew. So glad to have you. Michael Jarrell. Now, is this you, Mike? Now, you've been a guest on the show. If it's really you, let me know. But if this is a different Michael Jarrell, still happy to have you as a member. Mike Jarrell, the player on the Seahawks for me, is a guy that I think the team is trying to hide. They did not play him until very late. And I'm telling you, I think that they really like him. I think they want to try to sneak him through to practice squad. I don't think that's a good idea. I am not in favor of that move. I would like to see them actually try to trade Stone Forsythe. I think that they might be showcasing him. I don't think Stone Forsythe is a guy that you need to keep on this roster. I think they've got other options. So that would be my preference. But, we'll see. Because George Fant, once Abe Lucas comes back, George Fant is a swing tackle. He can play left tackle as well. I think Stone Forsythe is redundant. He's on the last year of his rookie deal. He does not have that much of a upside from my perspective. I'd like to make sure we keep Mike Jarrell. So if this is the real Mike Jarrell, you hear why I want you on this roster. All right. And then Rebel Gilbert, welcome to the crew, dude. So great to have you, or gal. I don't know. Rebel can be either, but so happy to have you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for supporting the show. All right, so let's look at edge. I see a question from Jared here, our new member. Do you think Forsyth has a trade market? I think any tackle that is serviceable will have, especially a swing tackle, will have a trade market. And he's been in the league for a few years. There's tape on him. He's had some good games. He's a mountain of a man. Someone's gonna like say, yeah. I'm not saying they're gonna get like a high pick. Could they get a 6th, a 7th? Yeah, I think they could. Could they get a conditional 7th that could become a 6th? Yeah, I think that they could. So yeah, I don't think that's crazy. They just got a 2026 6th round pick. So Rebel says, I am a dude, just to be clear. Well, I'm glad I got it right the first time, Rebel. Thanks for joining, man. Joey Walker with a great suggestion. Let's send Stone to the 49ers. I love that, man. Let's do it. All right. Let's keep going. So we were looking at edge. At edge, among the qualifying guys, there's a lot of guys that had 2, 3, 4 snaps, but I'm going to leave them all in there just so we can see everybody. Actually, let's do for just like people that played a decent amount to start with. All right. The number 5 highest graded edge player in the NFL through the first weekend of the preseason, Jamie Sheriff. And I'm going to go with Sheriff because it's really spelled that way. He's got a grade of 89.6. So that would be amazing if we saw it into the season. I mean, I gotta see, I gotta see it more, but I'm telling you, he flashed in his very first practice in 1v1s. He did. I was like, wow, all right, he's showing up. And then he came into the game and he had 4 pressures in 12 pass rush snaps. Now, granted, he's going against third strings. So that's, relatively, got to keep it real. But still, 4 pressures is 4 pressures. Derek Hall was your 10th graded edge rusher in the NFL over the weekend. He had 3 pressures. He had an 84.2 grade, 72.5 pass rush, 75.2 run defense. Let's look at from a run defense perspective. He was the 11th highest graded run defender as an edge player over the weekend. So I think that's huge and, a really good first game for Derek Hall. Who else? Anyone else on the Seahawks? Let me actually go out to just all snaps, not just qualifying. Scroll down. Uchenna Nwosu had a nice game, 77.3, only had 6 snaps. Now, here's a name that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit. Austin Booker for the Bears. This was a guy that I really started to like in the draft process. Developmental edge rusher, long, played for Kansas, I believe. Really seemed like a guy that has real potential as an edge rusher. And he ends up going to the Bears. I got to look where he was picked. He was the 144th overall pick in the draft in the 4th round. I like that guy. So the fact that he had a good start to his career for Chicago, it's a little bit hard. I'm not going to lie. He had 6 pressures and 3 sacks in his first game. Yikes. Okay. That's going to be a tough one. Other guys that kind of stood out. Braylon Trice. Oh, man, that was news from this weekend. So bummed for him. He had started off really well for the Falcons, had a 78.5 pass rush grade, and then is lost for the year due to injury. That's just huge. Did I miss something did we get a confirmation about Mike Jarrell, who he is? I got 12 that says number 65 makes the 53. Welcome, Mike Jarrell. Go Hawks. Did we get confirmation? Um, I'm scrolling through chat. You guys need to help me if I missed it. Um, but in any event, huge fan of Mr. Jurel for sure. All right, so it's his dad. All right, cool, dude. Well, welcome. I think we're gonna have a long, fruitful relationship. I think your son has a place on this roster from my perspective, and is a fantastic young man. So nice job raising what seems to be a fantastic young man. All right, Grayson Murphy also had a nice game for Miami. This is a guy that the Seahawks showed some interest in. He finished with a 73.9 grade, 91.1 against the run, which is pretty impressive. Other names of note as edge rushers. Sonny Anderson for the Seahawks. He ended up with a 69 pass rush grade as edge. That's not bad. Nelson Caesar, he had a 66.8 overall grade, 61.5 pass rush grade. So there's that. Boye Mafe, he had a 75.2 pass rush grade, only 64.2 overall, 49.1 against the run. So they didn't like his run grade, but he did have the 23rd highest pass rush grade of edge rushers over the weekend. Well, let's see what else. Let's look at linebackers. This is a big one for the Seahawks. Overall, let's go with guys that played, a reasonable amount of snaps. Okay. Ben Van Sumeren for Philadelphia had a 91.6 grade, only 19 snaps, but that's all right. Let's go for a little bit higher. Let's go for guys that played that played at least, I don't know, at least 20 snaps. All right, let's say at least 20 snaps. I think that's a little bit more indicative of the guys that played at least 20 snaps. Maema, Maema, Njongmeta, Njongmeta for Cincinnati, for the Bengals. He had a 91.4 overall grade as a linebacker, 74.4 in coverage, 90.2 run defense. So he had a nice game for the Bengals. Number 2 overall in the NFL among linebackers, Tyrese Knight of your Seattle Seahawks had an 89.9 grade, 84.7 coverage grade, 77.6 tackle grade. So really nice opening game for Tyrese Knight. Number 3 overall linebacker grade in the NFL, Patrick O'Connell for your Seattle Seahawks. 88.2 grade, 81.7 coverage, 77.1 tackling grade. So there is a couple of linebackers for the Seahawks that helped themselves quite a bit. Patrick O'Connell's a really interesting one because I'm telling you, he has flashed as a blitzer in Seahawks practice. Now, my question's been for him, coverage. Can he cover? He had a nice pass breakup in this game. 81.7 coverage grade. We got to keep watching that. I thought John Radigan had a great game. Interestingly, they didn't agree. They had him down at 63.3, which is not bad. They gave him a 79.6 tackling grade and a 74.0 pass rush grade, but only 59.6 against the run. So, sorry, I got distracted by chat. But anyway, I thought John Radigan had a very good game. I felt really good about the way he played. I think that all of the Seahawks linebackers acquitted themselves pretty darn well. So that was a little bit of a tour there from a linebacker perspective. I thought that Peyton Wilson for the Steelers had a good game. Apparently, PFF did not agree. They gave him a pretty low grade. But so that's linebackers. Let's look at corners. So cornerbacks. Let's look at all corners here for a second. They didn't love the Seahawks cornerback play in this game. The top graded Seahawks corner was Artie Burns at 70.3. Next highest was Tariq Woolen at 68.7. So Artie Burns was the highest. He was the 58th highest graded corner. So not great. One interesting name, Ro Torrance, who was a guy the Seahawks had. He was an undrafted free agent the Seahawks had. They let him go. He signed with the Bears. He had a 68.4 grade, 67.1 coverage grade. So he was right there with Tariq Woolen as far as overall grade. Be interesting to see if that's a name that they regret. Carlton Johnson with a 67.5 grade, 67.4 coverage grade. So, not as much standout there. Let's take a look at the safeties overall. Hopefully you guys are finding this helpful to kind of just see relative, not just grades, but where the guys were relative to other players in the league. Let's look at safeties real quick. The fifth highest graded safety in the NFL this weekend was Kobe Bryant of your Seattle Seahawks with an 86.4 grade, 80.0 coverage grade. So really nice. I think we all knew that he had a good game. Let's see who else. Next highest graded Seahawks safety was Rayshawn Jenkins at 68.8. After that, Kayvon Wallace, 68.4. He is 62.2 in coverage, 71.6 tackling. So, some good, solid safety play for the Seahawks in this one. Seeing if there's anything else of note. But really, as I go through, I think that'll be it for the PFF stuff for a little bit. Let's go through where there's some battles on this roster. So quarterback, not so much. Running back, we talked about this. I think George Holani helped himself. I still have George Holani ahead of Kenny McIntosh for that. What I think is going to be the final running back spot. I still have them keeping 3. I think all 3 of those guys, Kobe Lewis, Kenny McIntosh, George Holani, acquitted themselves well. I think it's going to be tight, and each game, each rep in practice is going to matter. And we'll just see. Anyway, I don't think Kenny McIntosh has the build that they want and need for this team. And I don't think he adds something that they really want or need. So that is my perspective there. On the wide receiver side, I think Laviska Shenault helped himself. I think it's very clear he is a very special athlete. He brings something special and something different. The coaches have seemed a little reserved, a little hesitant to heap praise on him. And I don't know, usually when that happens, there is something behind the scenes that they don't love. Something, maybe his preparation, maybe his attitude, maybe something else. And this guy was a high pick. He's a second-round pick. He's bounced around the league. Maybe there's something there. But to me, it is obvious that the offense is going to be better off having him available than not. So I hope that everything squares up and he makes this squad. I think that Derek Young helped himself. He was the leading receiver. He carried the ball, I think, as well, if I'm remembering right. He got some yards after catch. I just think he's a solid special teams player. I think he's really helped himself. I think all the receivers helped themselves to some degree. Even D. Eskridge had the 22-yard end around the jet sweep. You had Cody White make a couple big catches. Aesop Winston had a big third down catch. As we said before, was one of the top graded receivers. You didn't even really get to see Hayden Hatton. I think you're going to see him as the next 2 preseason games. I think he's a practice squad guy, but I really liked Hayden Hatton so far. So, interesting, the receiver room. I think they all helped themselves. I think the guy that might have helped himself the most is Brady Russell, and I'm not sure he even really needed to help himself. I think he is squarely above A.J. Barner in the depth chart, and I thought he was great, and I thought the touchdown he caught was great, and I thought his blocking was good, and I certainly came into camp underestimating Brady Russell. I have an appreciation for him now, and also a huge fan of the guy. So I think he helped himself. Tyler Mayberry helped himself. I don't know if A.J. Barner did. He had that one catch, and he was a little bit lumbering. Did you notice his run after the catch was not as athletic as I would have hoped to see? I'm okay if you're not the biggest burner, but he seems a little slow in his movements. And so I'm a little bit concerned. I have some question about, does he make the roster? That might sound crazy. I would have never thought to ask that, but I'm having a little bit of question. From a depth chart perspective, I think it's pretty clear he is behind both Russell and Tyler Mayberry. They may just choose to keep him because they can't protect him on the practice squad. He's a high pick. There's certainly other guys, people that would want to look at him. But from an overall level of play perspective, he's got to pick it up. I don't think he's where the team or he wants him to be. On the offensive line, like I said, I think they're hiding Mike Jarrell. I think they are. I think they're trying to sneak him on the practice squad. I don't think that's a good idea. And we'll see about the rest. I think Anthony Bradford was okay. I thought Raekwon O'Neal helped himself in this game. I thought he was pretty good. Big number 79. He's also got a big personality and is becoming part of the kind of fabric of that offensive line room. Satoa Lomea, I think, helped himself, generally speaking. So offensive line is going to be really interesting. I just, again, I've got them keeping 10 right now, and which 10 is going to be, there's going to be a really tough decision at the back end of that where, like I said, I have them moving on from Stone Forsythe, and we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I have Abe Lucas on the PUP. That opens up a spot. But if they keep Stone Forsythe, then it becomes tough. We'll see. All right. Leonard, the defensive line. I thought Mike Morris helped himself. Played a lot of snaps. They are really trying to test his endurance and get him into shape, I think, is part of what I think is going on there. I saw Mike, they were doing it in practice last week. And he was laboring a little bit, and I think they're just trying to get him a little bit into shape, cardiovascular shape. But I thought he played pretty well. I don't know if there's anyone else that's really going to push him. Miles Adams certainly is in that conversation. I would be very disappointed if they picked Miles Adams over Mike Morris. I think Mike Morris offers more upside, more team control, more flexibility in terms of where he can help the team outside and in. So I think that's where I see it for now. Linebacker we talked about. I don't think there's any change. The top 5 are the top 5. I don't think that's going to change. John Radigan, Patrick O'Connell, Tyrus Nate all did well. Edge, Darrell Taylor didn't play. He's hurt, but I don't think he's safe. He's got a $3 million unguaranteed, non-guaranteed contract. If he moves on, if they decide to move on from him, if they decide to trade him, they get $3 million in cap space. So I don't think he's safe. I don't think Nelson Caesar or Sonny Anderson had a big enough game to where you can say, whoa. Jamie Sheriff, though, if he keeps coming on, I don't know. Let's see. I think Edge is a very interesting room this week. I wish I was in Tennessee. Oh my gosh. Wish I was there to watch that because it's going to be a very pivotal week for the edge position. On the cornerback side, Mike Jackson didn't play. I think he's another person that could be a trade candidate. I wouldn't be surprised. Mike's hard to read because he's always got a little bit of a scowl to him. He's got an edge to him, which is part of what makes him a good player. But I just wonder a little bit if he's a little bitter about his contract here, about his place in the depth chart, whether he'd want to move to another team. And so I wonder if another team is going that's cornerback needy would make a move for him. I think that guys like Carlton Johnson, Nehemiah Pritchett, DJ James all helped themselves this weekend. I don't think D. Williams really did, but that's just something to keep an eye on. Ty Okada had a great game at safety. I don't think he's going to push Kobe Bryant. I think it's a four-man safety room. Okada could be a practice squad guy if they choose. So, that's going through the entire roster. I think one of the cool things here is, a lot of the guys that you want to take a step forward took a step forward. And I love what we saw overall. I think we're going to get a good view this week against Tennessee. And I will do another watch party here on Saturday for the Tennessee game. So we'll all watch that together. Anyone who wants to come and join that, we'll do that. I'm going to try to get some folks on the show this week to talk about their impressions of the game and what's going on. I'll let you know what's going on with that. But today is a Connor Williams day. So I will be down there momentarily after I get my breakfast and bike on down to the VMAC to cover what's going on there. I will have post-practice reports. We do have I would be crazy to not put up some of Mike Jarrell's dad's notes, and I have to just trust this is actually his dad. I can't verify, but I love it either way. It says what you get out of Mike is he doesn't beat the team up with penalties. He only gives up 3 sacks in 40 straight starts. Yeah, I'm a big believer, and I think the coaching staff is too. I really do, and I'm not. Anyone's been listening, I've been saying that about Mike Jarrell well before his dad became a member of the channel. So that is my honest opinion. Jared asks, "Who's your biggest surprise cut, Brian?" It depends on who you think is a surprise. Like I just went through some names. I think Eskridge could definitely be a cut. Kenny McIntosh could be a cut. I think Stone Forsythe could be a cut. I think Darrell Taylor could be a cut. Those are probably the most surprising names at this point that could be cut. I guess I think the most surprising, if it happened, would be Barner. That would be a big surprise. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think it's not likely, but I think his blocking has not been as good as I thought it would be. His receiving has been pretty much non-existent. And then we just saw run after catch was not so great either. He's got to start standing out in one phase of the game at least. And I'm not sure he's doing that yet. And he's got a lot of competition in that room. Tyler Mayberry is a very underrated tight end. He's a very good blocker, a very good special teams player. He's exactly the kind of guy that can help a team out at the back of a tight end room. And you know what you're getting. Brady Russell, we've already talked about. So there's some pretty solid competition. That's not even counting Jack Westover. So that would be probably the biggest surprise. All right, so keep an eye out, folks, for my post-practice report later today. I will also have sound from the press conference probably tomorrow. I might have a guest tomorrow. We'll see how timing works out. But a lot of great stuff coming for you this week. Got some good announcements coming. Looking forward to getting that started. But what a fantastic weekend this was. A lot of great stuff happened for the Seahawks in this channel. Hundreds and hundreds of members joining. We've got such a burgeoning community. I got some people that have offered to be moderators for chat. I'm going to get them in here. And just so folks know, like, the things that I basically am pretty open with the chat, but what I will always ban or pause, 49ers fans that are being obnoxious, that's the easiest one. Those people just get booted. I don't mind other fans in here if they're being silly and fun, but if they're being jerks, they're out. If people are unkind to guests, that is a pretty immediate ban. And I really don't tolerate that. And some people have made jokes at the expense of some of the guests. Some people have been a little bit of a simp, for lack of a better word, for some of the women that I've had on this show. I don't want that. That's not the kind of community we're building here. We're going to treat guests with respect. And so that's something that, we'll take seriously. And then if people are just being, unkind to each other, if they're making chat, an unpleasant place. This included during the watch party. Some people started talking politics or promoting candidates. None of that. Zero of that will be allowed. This is not a place to bring up all the things that divide us in this country, in the world. It is a place where we're talking Seahawks. We're talking about the things that bring us together. And I will make sure to the best of my ability. And then as I add moderators, that they help me make sure we keep this a fun, kind, Seahawks centric community. And I appreciate all of you that have already made it that way. Like, it's amazing how we've added so many people and how so many of you, like all of you, are great that way. So just want to give you some idea about that. Ed Chan who's a member also gives a super chat here. Just hoping for the best for detail. Worry hearing about the seizure. I must have missed this. So I hope detail's okay. I hope everyone's okay. Appreciate that. And that's a great example of the caring community we got together. All right, folks, that is it for your Monday morning Hawk Blogger Mornings. I'm Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hawk Blogger. I would really appreciate a follow on Instagram. I'm trying to grow that channel. It is a channel that matters for getting guests on. It's a channel that matters for advertisers and other things, sponsors. So I think we only have like 400 followers on Instagram. I'd love to get that at least to 1,000, few thousand. So if you have an Instagram account, please take like a second, go over, follow Hawk Blogger over there. I'll work on trying to get someone aboard who can create some better content for our Instagram account as well. But I would really appreciate a follow on Instagram. All right, everybody, take care. See you all soon. This has been episode 141 of Hawk Blogger Mornings.